What's up, everybody? This is Ted, and
I'm Josh.
and also with,
Mayo.
and we're back for part 2 of our Star Wars episode. If you haven't seen the first one, go ahead and pause the video and go click somewhere and go watch it. Yeah, or not, or you
The
can
link
watch
is in
it.
the description.
I guess if you don't want to, you don't have
You
to.
don't have to. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can watch this one.
We'd really
do that
appreciate it
one.
if you did, though.
Yeah, so give us a like, comment if you like Star Wars, or if you didn't. We'll read them sometimes, and we like you guys a lot. So, this is part 2. We talked about briefly. We talked about basically everything of the prequels 1, 2, 3. 4,
Well, I mean,
5,
yeah,
6.
we talked.
Those aren't prequels.
Yeah.
I know, but the
Half of
prequels,
those are prequels.
the originals.
I mean,
and the
technically,
prequels.
they're all prequels to this.
No,
Yeah.
no.
All right, we talked about in the last episode. We talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Thank you.
Different.
The two
And
sagas.
Solo and Rogue One.
So, Solo and Rogue One. We talked about those.
I like how he almost died practically saying Solo.
He was like, yeah, we talked about Rogue One and Solo.
So this episode we're mostly we're focusing on 7, 8, the future 9, past that, and anything that comes after all that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off with I guess I'll start about episode 7, which is The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
So I researched a little bit before I asked Josh to actually. So it was 10 years, you said?
Yeah, 10 years since the release of Episode 3 and the release of Episode 7.
Yeah, and so I know.
Go figure with that.
Yeah. So we're
Thank you, George Lucas.
so basically for me, that was. I mean, I seen all the other ones before, and then 3 came out. So there was a 10-year gap where there was no original. I guess you could say movie.
Well, we had the
There
animated series.
There was no theater release.
Theater release. There you go.
Not true, because we had the animated prequel movie that tied into Clone Wars.
Yeah.
What? Oh, you're right.
It was a
That
theatrical
was a-
release because
You're
I actually
right.
went and saw it in theaters.
I forgot.
I
about
regret
that.
going and seeing it in theaters.
Dude, I like that movie.
I mean, no, it's not a bad movie, but I regret spending the money to go see it in theaters.
Because it was definitely a show tie, and it was definitely like.
I definitely could have waited and watched it on some illegal format.
So
or legal format. Don't pirate this.
yeah. So the 10-year gap. I mean, you couldn't count that one, but for me, the actual live action. There you go. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Live
Yeah, live
10
action.
years. So basically, what I survived off of was video games and like the animated.
I think we
show
all pretty much survived.
and whatever comics or
I mean,
books they had.
I watched. I read books. I didn't watch.
Yeah.
them.
I did read the books.
I
yeah, I
watched
read
the-
some of the books.
The Craig McCracken animated one, like the Samurai Jack guy animated one, that one was tight. There
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like, what,
I
like
remember
5
that.
episodes of that?
Yeah,
I
that-
watched that.
Yeah. So that's how I grew. Like that's how what I lived off of. Speaking of 10 years span, I guess you could say. So when they announced a new Star Wars movie, I was kind of like, "Oh, where are we going with this?" So the Force Awakens, they showed us Rey and Finn, and showed us a bunch of Poe and a bunch of new characters, right?
Yep.
Some people came back, like Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and for me, the movie was I liked it. But were there things wrong with it? Well, for me, I liked it from beginning to end. That was an enjoyable movie for me. I liked it. It was good. They had the moments. There was a lot of stuff, which shout outs to past movies.
Yeah, there was a lot of references, but they weren't like they weren't all.
Look at it.
Yeah, they weren't all like. They at no point in the film did I feel like somebody was staring at me through the camera like, did you get it?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because like a lot of it like glossed over really quick. Like you see the Millennium Falcon in the beginning, and they're like, oh, there it is, but then they quickly just stop talking about it.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, just go to that old ship.
And like, no, it sucks. And they move on. And like, oh, are they really just gonna leave it here?
Yeah. So it was a lot of funny like throwbacks like that, and then we introduced to Rey. She was left there. She lived there on Jakku. And the story goes, it's you meet Kylo Ren, who is the bad guy, of the movie, and he's working for someone, and then you don't really know who he is at first. I mean, we don't really know much about him, and for me, the whole movie, it was a good movie. I liked it from beginning to end. It got me excited for what was coming next.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me that the 10 years span I didn't have a movie like this, it gave me, like, The Force Awakens awakened something in me. I was like, yes. I was like, this was great. I liked it.
Yeah, it made me hype.
Yeah, it made me hype. Yeah.
Like, I didn't expect it to, just because, coming off of the prequels, like, of course there was stuff to enjoy there, but, coming back to that, episode 7, like, there was enough new stuff and enough mixture of stuff that I was familiar with. That it felt like a good mix.
Yeah, and I liked the way it went. I liked the new villain. I was like a huge fan of Kylo Ren when a lot of people weren't. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, I liked Kylo Ren a lot. I still like him to this day.
As a person, no. As a character, yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him as a real person.
Yeah. And what do you think, man? How did you like?
So I didn't start out hype when I saw the trailer. When I saw the trailer, I was a little skeptical. Like, and a little, I mean, like half and half. I was like on that line. I'm like, this could either really suck or this could be actually kind of good, And I was willing to give it that chance. Like, me and my friends actually went and saw that one in theaters, and I didn't regret it at all. Like, as soon as we got in, like, I was having a good time. Like, it felt really dramatic. I felt actually connected to these characters, because some of them, and like I said this a lot in the last episode too, like they felt grounded. Like, I felt like they didn't know what the hell was going on, and I also didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time, because that's how you come into movies. Like, you don't know exactly what the setting is just yet. Like, you learn as they learn, and then it felt good, and that was good. Like, most of the characters, and then when you get to the familiar characters, you're already, you already feel like you're back into it. Like, everything is familiar.
Like, there was no 10-year gap. You're like, okay, this is what filled me in for those 10 years. Mm-hmm. What about you, Josh?
Okay. So when I much like Manuel, when I first saw the trailers, I was like, yes, okay, hey, Star Wars movie, sure. I'm going into it with an open mind, but it wasn't something that absolutely grabbed me right away. Because I was, I knew, I don't know, I guess part of me knew how the fan base was going to react when I saw that they were going to focus it on a female lead. Now, Don't get me wrong, I had no problem with Rey being the female lead. I loved it. It turned out, I mean, she's a great person, she's a great character. I'm trying to. Why can't I think of her name? I don't know why lately I've
Daisy Ridley.
Daisy Ridley. Thank you very much.
Ridley Scott.
But I mean, I thought she did an amazing job in the film. I thought her performance was probably the most standout-ish, if that's even a real word, out of the entire cast, including the returning cast. I mean, you really can't say too much about Mark Hamill's return, because it was, basically just a glorified cameo.
One shot, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't say a damn thing.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I don't think he actually said anything until about half an hour into this episode 8. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just it was fun. It was nostalgic. It left us with a lot of questions as to what was not only what was going to happen next, but what happened in the 30 years prior. Mm-hmm. Because for those of you that don't know, even though the episode 3 released in 2005 and then 7 released in 2015. The gap is actually between obviously 6 and 7, which is about 30 to 35 years or something like that. So obviously all your old heroes are now old heroes.
Yeah.
Most of them have their AARP cards at this point.
they get the early bird special.
That Denny's at the corner of the galaxy there. But overall, when I went to see the movie, it left me with, and this is kind of cliche, I guess. It left me with a feeling of hope for the franchise. Mm-hmm. A new hope for the franchise. Yeah. And it was just good. The character of Finn was great. I liked the character of Poe Dameron probably as much as I liked the character of Rey. Mm-hmm. I will say this: the first time through, I was not thrilled with Adam Driver's performance. But as I've watched it more and more, I understand the character more. And of course, after episode 8, I definitely understand the character more. I understand the conflict that's going on inside him at the same time. And that conflict is still there. Although, actually, I'd have to say at the end of 8, it's probably not there anymore. I think he's made his decision on who he's going to be. But that was probably... That's probably my biggest knock against the series. I will say one thing. The death of Han Solo. Now, I know we're getting kind of into the meat of this one.
Yeah.
The death of Han Solo, I know a lot of fans were upset with. I know probably each one of us was upset with it when it happened.
I liked it.
Apparently, everybody was upset with it except for Ted.
If you guys go back, I wanted Woody to die. I'll keep referencing that. Woody
Harrelson?
No.
Woody,
when we did our Toy Story
sheriff.
thing, I was just like, Woody or Buzz needs to die for this movie to be great.
Why is that just your stance?
He always wants somebody to die.
When
I just don't get it.
When I seen Mark Hamill was going to be in 8, and I knew, I was like, I hope he dies a really horrible way. I hope it's great.
There is something wrong with him. I will admit that.
No, because this is like there's this bigger thing. Because we already know what they can do. When you want someone to do it, like someone else comes in, you already know he's broken and supposed to be OP at this point in his age, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna introduce a villain and then have him beat it without him like taking hope away from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel.
I feel it. Did you ever watch the old Transformers movie?
Yeah.
That's what you sound like right now. That's what you're mad at me. Not that I'm not always constantly thinking about that movie, but that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's just like they need to make sure to know that this person is going to fight, but he has no hope in this. Like, that's how I feel.
Yeah, kill Optimus, kill Woody, kill Cap, kill.
Yeah, kill Captain America. Yeah, we said, or Iron Man. I'm ready for it. Anyways, back to
but yeah. With that being said, sure, at the time I was upset that Han Solo died because it's Han Solo. He's not supposed to die. He's supposed to live forever. I mean, he's supposed to be the last one out of everybody because he's the smart ass rogue who always manages to get himself out of trouble.
Yeah,
and this time he doesn't. But I think it works for the story.
It did surprise me well.
It helped further the character of Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, because there's a lot of in the scene in which Han Solo dies. There's a lot of imagery that most people wouldn't pick up on until actually it's been pointed out. And I will say that I didn't pick up on it the first time either. Sometimes I can be a little oblivious to those things, but I've since gone back and watched the movie several times, and I see it now. I see it very clearly. The scene takes place inside what would you call it? The reactor room for Starkiller Base.
Yeah, some kind of like.
And so Han and Ben or Kylo Ren are standing out on this walkway, and they're having this big emotional heart-to-heart talk, and Han is essentially pleading with his son to turn away from the dark side, to come home. And as they're talking, I actually think that Han realizes that one of the biggest conflicts is because of Han. And I don't know if he truly believes that his son is lost or if there is a hope of bringing him back, but I think he knows that in order for Ben to truly find himself, he needs to be out of the picture. And there's even a small little theory going around part of the fan base that when Kylo holds out the lightsaber, Han takes a hold of it, and they're both holding it, and Han's trying to pull it away, but Ben is pulling it back. Because you can actually see the grip on that Ben has with two hands on the saber. And, and then you see the handle slowly shift with the blade emitter towards Han, and then the blade ignites, piercing Han through the chest, and then afterwards he disengages. I don't know if he disengages the lightsaber or if he simply pulls it out.
I think
I think he just pulls it out, actually, because I think he still has it on when Chewie shoots him, and then Han falls over the walkway and into the shaft, kind of in a sense mirroring yet anti-mirroring the death of Palpatine.
I mean, there's that, but then also it's a little similar to Empire Strikes Back, just that because you in this one it's a father and son meeting, and then in Empire Strikes Back you're finding out that it's a father and son meeting, and then in the end that they don't team up,
right?
And here the outcome is pretty much the same, and somebody's going to get tragically hurt.
During that scene, though, if you notice Kylo's face, now. Part of it, he is facing the hole or the entrance in which everybody had come in, and so part of his face was lit up in the red light that was being emitted inside the shaft, but then the other part of his face was clear with light coming in from outside, and that's the imagery that I was talking about. Because it basically signifies the split that he has between the good, the light and the dark, and I really do think that is very, very key to, I mean, just setting up the whole thing. But the theory that I was describing is there are some people that say that it wasn't Kylo that ignited the lightsaber, that it was actually Han who ignited the lightsaber, knowing that his son needed to be without him to find his way. And I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I feel so something I want to touch on if we're going to talk about Han, and his motivation behind things. I, for one, believe Han is at least a little Force sensitive. He may not even realize it, but there's just so many things that happen that are just like strokes of luck, and everybody likes to think it's like, oh, it's just his roguish charm or whatever. I'm like, well, there's a word for that kind of stuff in this universe. It's called the Force, and so I feel like he definitely is more aware of what's happening than he lets on, because he likes to play the this hot-headed kind of asshole sometimes, but he definitely does know what's happening. And in his old age he even is acting like a mentor and a protector here.
You definitely see that with Rey.
Yeah, and I think he may have known that this was going to happen anyway, and that this was just the events that were going to unfold anyway. He might as well have brought them out himself rather than succumb to them. You know what I mean? Because
another little bit of imagery, if you actually go back to the Resistance base, shortly before they head towards Starkiller base, and Leia says, "If you see our son, bring him home." And the look on his face was like, I don't like this at all. I don't think I'm going to see him.
And I think he already knows that he can't do it. You know what I mean? And so that it may not even be that he knew the turn of events, but he may have already known that there's no way he can bring his son back. And maybe he just didn't want to have to deal with that anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe he just thought he was a failure as a father and that he had to go. Because his son ended up being evil, and this, and not just evil, but this the big evil that he had already helped take down before, and then feeling that you're responsible for that, I can only imagine what could be on your mind. You know what I mean?
Now, of course, the real world explanation for Han Solo's death in Episode 7 was because Harrison Ford, the actor who portrays Han Solo in 4, 5, 6, and 7. Wanted out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
He wanted out in Episode 6. He wanted the character of Han Solo to be killed off in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
because like I said, he wanted out of the franchise. He didn't want to be stuck. He didn't want to be typecast. He wanted to be able to do other things.
Yeah, I mean, what did he end up doing? He was indie, and then
Well, yeah, but he did a couple of movies where he portrayed the character Jack Ryan.
He was. I forgot he was in some of Jack Ryan.
Yeah, in
Red October. No,
no,
it wasn't him. Red.
That was Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
but he was in Clear and Present Danger.
There you go.
And there was another one, both which were good, by the way. And plus, you see him in Air Force One. You see him in The Fugitive.
Did you know he was supposed to be in E.T.?
Really? No, I did not know that.
He was supposed to be the principal at the kid's school. And so when he gets drunk, he was supposed to be the principal, and he's supposed to be like scolding him, and that was supposed to be like I don't know. It was just supposed to be a nod because that's also Spielberg and Lucas and how they're friends and whatever. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else to add to that?
I mean,
I think yes, yeah.
What's up?
No, so I think did we touch on everything for a little bit on that? Because I was gonna ask next what.
Well, I want to one thing real quick is I want to talk about the importance of having Rey as the new lead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that not everybody is happy with it. Why? Because they wanted her. Part of it is because they wanted her to be a Skywalker, and we didn't get that in Episode 8. We didn't get that revelation. But also, there are some people that say, that she shouldn't be the lead because she's a female.
Yeah, of course.
But why? Look at Carrie Fisher. Believe it or not, she was a lead in 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually did a lot for female characters in the 80s. I think she pushed the boundaries a lot because there was so much of the story that was, in fact, focused on her.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Episode 6 did her character a whole lot of justice.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people who are fans of the old ones were like, I don't think we're gonna see Rey in a skin tight gold bikini in this one, and that's
I'm
where
pretty sure there's a lot of people that would like to see her in a skin tight gold bikini.
And that's okay to want, but you shouldn't expect that from every female character you see.
No, I mean that's just wrong to even really. I mean, not necessarily. Sure, you can have your fantasies.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure the three of us sitting at this table have had our fair share. But yeah, it's I think it's unresponsible or irresponsible, probably would be the correct way to say it.
Yeah.
For us as fans to expect that and to want that, because this is, whether you like Episode 8 or not, you have to acknowledge that this is the new Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way to introduce young fans, the same way Episodes 1, 2, and 3 did for you guys, back into the older stuff.
Yeah.
This is 7, 8, and 9 is a way to introduce fans back into Episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And everything else that is Star Wars. Stay away from the holiday specials.
Oh, dude, I love that.
If you value your sanity. But it is, and I honestly think that, sure, there's a whole lot of, the Me Too movement going on right now, and, there's a lot of things happening in Hollywood where we're just not going to, we are not going to get into that here.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that having Rey as the lead character overall for the series, and the hope for, whether it's the return of the Jedi Order or a completely new Jedi Order altogether, I think that is huge for fans.
Because, I don't always understand why people are upset, especially with this one, because if you look at who, the main focus leads are for all the rest of the movies, and then compare it to, these movies, if it's going to be a trilogy and the lead is Rey. So 3 out of 9 movies have a girl, and 6 out of those 9 have just dudes. I'm so there's still more dudes than girls. So it's not like there's this big like disparity. Like,
Yeah, because I mean,
there's too
outside
many
of
girls now.
outside of episode 1, you can't really say Padme Amidala was a lead character.
Yeah, no, she was kind of like she starts just being
She
like a sidekick.
no, she was. I mean, she was a great character,
Yeah.
except for maybe episode 3, but. You know, she was not a huge lead outside of the first movie, and even then, it's questionable.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with what you said. Like the new, like it's new. It's so new that it feels refreshing. But then, like when you get back into the swing of things, it's like, okay, yeah, she fits. She's like this desert dwelling guy, like Luke was, like Anakin was. And, you know, they know like junk. They know poverty. They know this stuff, and you're like, that's stuff that people can relate to more easily.
Yeah, and here's the thing with that too, though, because of the fact that I think this is so great for fans. It's not just for the girl fans, because there are a lot of female fans out there for Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they make up probably I can't say and even half of the fan base, but they probably make up at the very least a good third of the fan base. But this is also good for the young male fans. Seeing a woman in a strong lead role teaches them to see women as strong.
Exactly.
You know, and it shows them that, hey, you know, sure, you got Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, who are these great Jedi Masters. You got Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, who are these strong characters in episodes 4, 5, and 6. And then you've got Rey, who can fucking do it, too.
Yeah, and it's not like she does anything crazy. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't immediately...
But she stands up to a lot of the
It's
male
like
characters.
Like, she still fights. She still does all that stuff.
She does not back down,
She's
and I
not,
love that.
like, super powerful Jedi yet. Like, oh, she can use a lightsaber already. Oh, she grabbed the lightsaber with the Force for a second there. But that's all stuff, like, Anakin was kind of capable of doing when they first saw Anakin. When they, like, tested him and, like, oh, can you move these things? Like, okay, he moved them. And then they're like, okay, do you know what we're looking at without us telling you? And like, oh, yeah, it's this thing. And so, like, she's... And that's just what, you know, like, where somebody who will be strong with the Force starts out at, like, at base. They're, like, a little more powerful.
Well, and I mean, you can even argue that because of the staff that she has, you know, on Jakku.
Yeah.
And then, you know, she even still has it in episode 8 when she goes to the planet to find Luke. She's used that for years.
Exactly.
She's trained herself to fight with that. So she has some skill with fighting with a weapon.
She knows self-defense, obviously, because where she comes from is like this poor...
She has to, yeah.
Junker town, and, you know, like, you scrounge around for stuff.
Somehow worse than Tatooine.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so of course, she's probably gotten in a few scraps and some brawls, and, you know, so she definitely knows how to defend herself since she's, you know, still alive, you know. So, yeah, and it's all within the realm of possibility, and people who think that it's not are, like, honestly just kind of crazy. Like, it's I mean, this is just all very possible. It seems like it never says... My suspension of disbelief is never broken by seeing her do something. You know
Exactly,
what I mean?
yeah. And that's key.
So, do you guys want to just hop into the 8, or is there anything
I think we got it. I think if we're going to do it, we just got to dive in on the deep end here.
Well, I think we should also talk about the other main characters for a second. Like,
Yeah,
Poe.
that's what I was asking.
Okay, yeah.
Poe's in episode 7 doesn't have a lot. He's just charming, and that's fine. That's okay. He's just a charming pilot. And
Well, key little fact here, did you know that he was actually originally supposed to die early in the movie?
I believe it because he did.
The whole part where the TIE fighter crashes on Jakku, that was supposed to be it for Poe. He was not supposed to be in the rest of the movie. But Disney, or whoever was making the movie, J.J. Abrams or something, was like, you know what, we like this guy so much, let's rewrite part of the film to bring him back.
I mean, because most of his character,
And that was a good decision.
charm, and it made me. I just liked him off the bat. Like, they didn't make me like him. Like, I just saw him do stuff, and I was like, I think I like this guy.
Because-
I think he's pretty cool. I was prepared for him to die in that first scene he was in. I'm like, this is it. He's done. Like, I'm gonna feel bad. I'm gonna hate those guys, you know. And, like, I thought that was gonna be, like, set the tone for me. Like, oh yeah, the guys that look like stormtroopers are still kind of bad. You know, fuck them. You know. And then Poe. Finn. That's such an interesting story to me. And I know a lot of, like, fans are like, that doesn't make any sense because they're supposed to be clones and stuff, but I know there's like some lore behind it where they're like, no, they stopped using clones.
Yeah, they
started
Empire
actually drafting people.
The Empire stopped using clones way back before Episode 4.
Yeah.
So the stormtroopers that you see in Episodes 4, 5, and 6, those are most of them are real people. There are still some clones used, but majority of them have been retired by Episode 4.
I thought
dead.
I thought clones die hecka fast.
Well, they do have shortened lifespans because they were mainly cannon fodder for the entire war.
So I thought they aged them up really fast, and they're like, oh yeah, it only takes like 5 years, and they're adult size.
Well, no, because I mean, if you remember, and this is going back to the animated series, which is canon.
Yeah.
And it's not even the animated series. It's actually it's one of the animated series. It's Star Wars Rebels.
Oh.
During the events of Star Wars Rebels, you actually have the crew of, what is it, the Ghost? Or whatever it is. They ended up coming across 3 old troopers, one of them being Captain Rex.
Oh,
From the animated series.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, the 3 characters that you meet are all from the animated series. I really don't think you hear much from Rex in Episode 3.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
You know of Captain Cody.
Yeah.
From Episode 3, obviously, and of course he's in the animated series as well. And then, of course, Captain Cody ends up becoming, I think he becomes the leader of the 501st afterwards. But that's a whole nother story for another time.
But yeah, just Finn's whole story, where he realizes what his side is doing and he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, is really strong, especially because when you think about what the stormtroopers were supposed to signify, and like the whole Empire in the original trilogy, they were like a Nazi
They
symbolism.
really did play that up.
Yeah, and so like when you see this and then the Nazi symbolism hits you again, you're like, oh, the one of the defense of all people who are Nazis are like, oh, well, they're just following orders or they're just doing this, and then you finally see somebody who's like, you know what, maybe I don't have to follow orders. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. I never thought that would happen.
Yeah, because most of these stormtroopers are brainwashed as kids. They're taken away from their families as infants.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like an anti-mirror symbolism to the Jedi.
Exactly.
If you think about it, because the Jedi took young Force users away from their families at a young age and trained them up to become Jedi Knights and Jedi Masters. And this is, kind of what the First Order's doing here with their troopers. They're taking kids away from their families at a young age. They're brainwashing them into believing their values and becoming part of their army.
But yeah, I think that's all that's left to say about Episode 7, because there wasn't, a lot of people's arguments against it being good is like, oh, it doesn't deviate far from the regular Star Wars plot. I'm like, well, I mean, it didn't really need to. Like, it was supposed to pull in old fans and then also be interesting enough for new fans, and it did exactly that. Like, it was it was like that perfect middle ground of familiarity and then enough to where if this is where you jumped in, you kind of still understand everything. Yeah.
It was Episode 8 that really pushed the boundaries for fans.
Yeah. Oh god.
And I think it's about time we get into that.
Okay. So do you how do we want to do this? Do we want to discuss like one at a time our problems with this, or do we want to?
I'll let Josh go first.
Okay.
Do you want to go?
I'm probably going to be
of every part of this movie.
Well, here's the thing. I'm probably. I know Ted's opinion on The Last Jedi, and from what he's told me about some of the things that you said, you're not far off.
Yeah, I rewatched it, and I was like, man, maybe I missed something. Maybe I was a little too harsh, because I know I went into that one having already heard everybody's criticisms, and I was like, oh, okay, so it does suck. And I went in, and I was like, I guess it does suck. And I went back in recently. It was actually like yesterday, last night. I watched it again, and I was like, okay, let me go in with some new eyes. Let me refresh. Let me find some things I like about this movie, and I found it really hard. There were some parts I really did like, but as a whole, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought it would.
I loved the movie.
Yeah.
Personally, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought I think it was perfect balance of the comedy that we are accustomed to from the older Star Wars movies. I thought it was dramatic. It didn't answer all the questions that we wanted. It didn't further every character, but it furthered the more important characters. And I do have a theory about Snoke, because I know that's one of everybody's biggest contentions, with the whole that he was just completely misused. And I know Ted and I have talked about this before. He kind of knows my theory on it, but I've got a little bit of a change to that theory after seeing the trailer.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought the progression for Rey, even though she believes, I guess if you want to say she believes that her parents were nobody. I think now obviously that was Rian Johnson, the director of Episode 8. That was his personal choice to do that, and I saw an interview of Rian Johnson after Episode 8. And one of the things he said is that he never wants to make a movie that everybody absolutely loves. He says...
yeah, I kind of understand that, yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. He said this. He said that if he makes a movie and everybody walks out of the theater at the end of that movie and said, "Oh, we absolutely love it," he says he's failed. He says that if he has a divided fan base where after the end of the movie that half of the fans walk out, say they loved it, and the other half say they hate it, he says he's succeeded. He looked to divide the fan base, and that's exactly what he did, hands down. I mean, you can't question that fact.
Yeah, I think saying that as an afterthought, I think that kind of gaslights people into saying that, like, oh well, this was his intention. He wanted people to be like this. Because there's a lot of things in there I think are failings as a Star Wars movie and as a movie as a whole. Because I even asked around some of my friends and asked their opinion on the movie. Especially one of my friends who I talked about in the last episode. He says he loves the prequels because he likes politics and that kind of world building stuff. He loves that kind of stuff. He loves inner space relations and all that kind of junk. I'm like, I can see the interest in there, but it's not really for me. But yeah. So I asked him his opinion on episode 8. And he said from a filmmaking standpoint, it's one of the better ones. And I had to ask him what he meant by a filmmaking standpoint. And he says, if you were to just look at the visuals of this movie and you couldn't hear the audio, you could understand every scene and situation. And I had to give that to him because when I look back at it, I was like, okay, so everything that's happening, I can clearly see who's bad, who's good, what they're trying to do, what's the danger in the situation. I can clearly see those things. And that doesn't necessarily make it a good movie. That just means the cinematography was okay. But I
think it was a good movie.
But there were a lot of problems with the writing. Specifically, I had problems with.
What, for example?
And just the okay, so
give me an example of a scene.
So the scene where there's a few scenes. The sequence of scenes between Rey doing her meditation for the first time, and she reaches out to like Kylo and learns what happened to Kylo, and then the scene where she confronts Obi-Wan Luke about it, and then immediately that gets explained, and you see the same sequence again, but from his perspective. That the way they did that was a waste of my fucking time. I'm going to be honest, because I did not need to see that scene twice in succession, like that. Like there was a way that could have been done. Like I understand, like the story isn't what I have the problem with. Is how they conveyed it to me is how I have the problem with it. Because I do understand the situation, and I think that's interesting. I think it's compelling. Is that Luke saw that Kylo was going to turn, or that he'd already been turned, and that he, in a moment of blind fury, was like, I could end it right now. I could end the whole fucking problem. And then he immediately realized that is not the way to go, and it's not going to solve anything. But it was already too late because Kylo realized what was about to happen to him. I get that, and I know a lot of fans have a problem with Luke doing that because of Luke's past actions, where he confronted his father in Episode 6.
Yeah.
He wasn't willing to fight it. Like he was like, I still think I could save him, even though he's already slaughtered millions and whatever. He's like, I think I can still save him. I think I can get to him, and then he eventually does. I can see from a standpoint where it is out of character, where he even if for a second thought that he should just take out a threat instead of trying to, like neutralize it in another way, in a more peaceful way. I can see that, but I also do like this darker take, because age can do that to you, and everybody makes mistakes.
And here's the thing: we have seen Luke susceptible to influences from the dark side before.
Exactly.
Because in Episode 6, when he's in the throne room with Palpatine and Vader, and Palpatine is just sitting there egging him on, and for the most part, he does a great job of resisting. But at one point, he snaps. He calls out to his lightsaber, ignites it, goes to kill Palpatine. Had Vader not intervened, had he not raised his own lightsaber to block the blow, Palpatine would have been snowed.
Yeah.
For lack of better word. He would have been cut in half. He would have been done. And Luke would have... I don't know if I could say he would have turned to the dark side, because I think he would have snapped out of it.
He definitely would have not been the same person afterwards.
But yeah, he would not have forgiven himself for that. And I think that, is similar to what we see here. And, you mentioned how it was seen twice. It's actually, and I know this is going to seem like I'm not helping my case here, but the scene is actually seen 3 times. The first time, we see it with Luke's initial explanation, with his, certain point of view, where he says that he had already seen the darkness growing in Kylo's heart. He went to confront him, and when he did so, Kylo turned on him immediately and tried to kill him. And he was simply trying to defend himself. But then you see the same scene again with when Rey is talking to Kylo, and when he's talking about how Luke came into his room while he was sleeping, you already see Luke's lightsaber lit and like he's ready to come down, and that, I think it actually serves a purpose. You say it wasn't necessary, it wasn't, you didn't need to see it. I think it serves a purpose because it's showing us that Kylo, it's showing us how he is trying to seduce Rey to his point of view, to his side. He's using that in order to try and skew her view of Luke. Because what is the one thing he wants more than anything? To destroy Luke Skywalker. Why? Because he feels that's part of the last vestige. He thinks his mother's dead. He has no idea his mother's alive at this point. He thinks his mother is dead. Yeah. And he has closed off any connection to the Skywalker family at that point. Except for Rey, and I can't say she's for sure Skywalker family, but I think she might be. And then we see that scene again for a third time after Luke essentially blows up the hut, and then he finally he absolutely explains the truth.
Kylo blows up the hut.
No.
Doesn't he bring it collapsing in around him?
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about on the planet where she goes to meet Luke. Because if you remember, the scene is they're reaching out for each other's hand. They touch hands. Luke walks in, sees it, and then he just, this is just after he's reconnected with the Force himself, and he blows up Rey's hut. Yeah. And tells her to leave. But then he goes to explain that, yes, he saw the darkness in Kylo's heart. He went in there, and he went in there with the intention, because he believed that Kylo was not savable at that point. He had essentially become the same as the Jedi before him. Narrow-minded, dogmatic, and absolutely staunch in his beliefs. And he raised his lightsaber to come down at Kylo, but realized what he was doing. Realized that even if there is no saving Ben Solo, if he does this, he is no better than Snoke or Palpatine or Vader or the countless other evil Force users who have come before him. Honestly, I think that because I watched this yesterday myself. And I believe those scenes are crucial to the story and to the development of Rey as a character. It's not meant for Luke, because these 3 episodes, these 3 movies are meant to end the Skywalker saga. They are meant to end the Skywalker saga, meaning everything is being wrapped up. Everything has to come to a close. So this is not a character development arc for Luke or Leia. I don't even think it might not even be a true character development arc for Ben Solo, because I think he's going to get killed off at the end of the next movie. I think he's going to try. Maybe there's one little bit of himself where he tries to redeem himself in the end, and he ends up sacrificing himself to save Rey or the future of the Force users or whatever. And I do believe that he's not going to make it out of the end of the next movie. So the Skywalker bloodline is going to come to an end. But maybe not the Skywalker heritage or whatever you want to call it. So I do believe that those scenes are absolutely crucial.
It's not the events in those scenes are fine. You know what I mean?
Yes, I understand that they're a little repetitive.
I think the execution was all off, and it kind of tore me out of it, because when I watched that, it reminded me of like watching Naruto, where like every episode I get the flashback, and then the next episode I get the flashback of him having the flashback and that stuff, and I'm like it's like I said, I don't like having things explained to me like I'm a child. Yeah. Like if I could probably work that out if through the movie, we see,
but like maybe could have figured that out through the movie. You
absolutely could. If she went in to meditate and she saw Kylo's side, and that's the only side we saw, right? And then through the course of things, when he talks to Luke, or Luke's talking to Yoda's ghost, and we sort of piece together that it didn't actually go down that way, but we're still left with did it really go, like, maybe it did, like, did Luke really do this? Because you're shocked to even think that, your hero for the last movie could even think about doing something like this. And every sign is pointing to it, yes, that this is what has happened, and then, when you come to figure out that it didn't exactly go as Kylo showed it, that there was more to it, that, Luke definitely did make a mistake, but it wasn't all him. And I feel like this could have come to a close is when she has her encounter with Kylo and Snoke will boasting, he's boasting in front of Rey, like, oh, I did this. I made Kylo come in contact with you because I knew you would come and try and save him again. I was the one who made him try and kill Kylo in the first place. And then that would have led better into that fight scene, because I didn't really understand why Kylo at this moment would decide to kill Snoke. But if he learned that, like right then and there, it would mirror a scene. And I keep going back to Guardians of the Galaxy, but in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where Ego is like, I hated to put that tumor in the head, and freaking Star-Lord loses it. It would have mirrored that scene, and we would have learned everything, like as our main character did. And it would have been more compelling, and everything like would have made more sense emotionally. Because right now, Kylo is seeming like the part I hated about Anakin in the first movie. He seems oversensitive. He seems self-centered. Like it doesn't seem like he has any driving force besides it just needs to all be about me. And if it's not, then I'm angry about it. And that's what I'm not liking here. In the first movie, and in like the like episode 7, like I felt like when, like, especially in the trailers for episode 7, when they showed the crumpled up Darth Vader helmet, I felt like he feels like, I thought he was trying to connect to his true heritage, like where he didn't feel like he actually belonged to Luke and Leia's family, but that his real family was Anakin. And I thought that was an interesting take on what was happening here. You know what I mean? Because you could have, especially with stuff that like involves training, like the Jedi, like you could feel disenfranchised because you're not getting it like the other students are, or maybe they're getting it better, and or maybe something, and then you start to feel disconnected from who is around you, and then you start trying to connect to other aspects of yourself, and that would be Anakin, Darth Vader, and that I thought that's where they were going to go with it, but they disregarded that whole scene with the Vader helmet entirely, and then nothing really came of it, and I was just really frustrated. So it feels like Kylo's character has no substance to it, besides that he's evil and that he can't be turned, even though we really want him to be. I don't really understand why we want him to be turned, other than that would mean we win. You know what I mean? Like I feel like at this point he can just be taken out.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Like, because he already killed one of our favorite characters. He killed the villain and then still decided to be the villain. And I'm like, well, then there's no point in you, really. If you can't.
Yeah. And then Alti decided to be the villain, and then we get stuff from information from the new movie that he's not even the villain in that one.
Yeah,
like, there's another force. So I'm like, so you're gonna make him become this person? Because again, I liked Kylo, and I like exactly how you felt. That's how I felt. And then in this movie, at the end, after he kills Snoke and they have that whole fight scene, he's just like, it's not about my family. It's not about you. He's like naming all this stuff. It's not about, and he says about this. And then he becomes this person. He's like out of range. He's like, and then he sees Luke on that thing. He's like, everyone focus on him. He needs to go down. And then he goes try to fight him. And even
because he says it throughout the movie, the past needs to die.
Yes,
but the thing,
kill the past.
And the thing is too, like I thought when he said that the first time, I thought that was a metaphor for them trying to like bring us entirely into new stuff. And like, okay, we're gonna stop referencing old stuff. We're going to focus on this entirely new story as much as we possibly can. But then that's not what they're doing at all. Like, it's still very Luke focused. Like, there's Leia's still here. I thought she was going to die because Carrie Fisher died. I was fine with that. I'm like, okay, Carrie Fisher's dead. That's fine. They're going to kill her off in this movie for whatever reason. I'm just going to have to live with it. They're like, no, we filmed everything ahead of time, and whatever we have filmed is going to be spliced into episode 9. And I'm like, I don't think we need to do that. Like, you had no qualms about killing Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I feel like Leia should have just been dead already.
Well, here's the thing, and this is going back to what we talked about a little bit ago. Harrison Ford wanted out.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher, that's when she agreed to come back for 7 and 8, she had every intention of doing 9 as well. So her dying in real life, that wasn't her choice. So I love the way they portrayed her in both 7 and 8.
I have no problems.
I'm excited to see what I'm excited to see what they can do with what they have and how they can make it tie in. It could be. I mean, they're going to have to do something where either
it feels a little exploitative. You know, like they're. It feels like they're animating her dead body and then putting it up there, and it feels wrong
in the movie.
Yeah,
okay, but it's not like what they did in Rogue One with both Tarkin and the young Leia.
No, it's just like it's because because they already said everything that's coming out of the new movie is deleted scenes from 7 and 8. Nothing's new. That's not something they already filmed. It's like,
and they're gonna have to create around that.
Yeah,
so they made that.
But it may only be a short thing at the very beginning of the movie in order to explain
the hug you see in the trailer. They even said that's the same hug from the movie from when after whatever part they hugged in episode 7, and it's redesigned to make it look like Rey from that movie and her from that movie. And if they don't do anything with it, and it's just scenes, and she doesn't really have anything to do with it, is what Manuel's saying. They're exploiting it.
Yeah,
because they could have easily. I mean, as sad as it is, they could have just had her die in 8.
They could have, but they didn't.
Because that was a perfect setup for it.
It is, yeah.
But you also have to understand that she was never intended to die in 8.
Yeah,
and here's the thing, though. Too much of the movie was already done by the time she had passed. In order to go back and redo all that, it would have delayed the movie, and there would have been even more outrage over that because fans would have said, just leave her in the movie and find a way to get rid of her afterwards. And so, I'm sorry, fans would have been upset either way.
You still say still get rid of her afterwards, so you like tying back, like get rid of her.
I don't want to sound like that here, but I feel like after Kylo saying that, like I know it's not the the idea we should take away from this movie, but the idea of getting rid of the old, I feel like is a theme that they should keep with, and not necessarily as an evil theme, but like absolutely, because even Luke
passing the torch.
Like even Luke is going through the same thing in this movie, where Yoda makes him burn the tree and the text and whatever. He's like, it's old junk anyway. It doesn't matter. Like it was from an old age where there was a lot of Jedis. Now it's just you and this one girl. So we're gonna remake this whole thing. We failed because we raised the chosen one to be a freaking a Hitler, you know. And so obviously, you know, what we have been doing isn't correct 100% of the time, you know. So some new, fresher takes. And then, you know, while we're on the subject of Yoda, I did not like that they made the puppet in this one. If they made the puppet, they should have made a better puppet, because they literally used like the old puppet.
Yeah,
and it clashed so hard with everything around it. Like
it was
like,
the same puppet from episode 5 and 6.
Yeah, I know, but it clashed too hard. Like,
I don't think it did. I thought it was perfect.
No, it was bad. I didn't have too much beef with the prequel CGI Yoda, except for, you know, well, in the first one they did puppet Yoda, which looked kind of ugly. But the old puppet and the old way they animated it just looked so out of place from everything else.
It did look kind of like I watched it this morning, and I don't remember it looking like that.
And it just looked. And if that scene wasn't so short, like if he was there for any longer, I wouldn't be able to watch that scene anymore, because it was like it just unsettled me. Like, because everything else looks so photorealistic, and it's not my problem with, like, because I love practical effects. I've said that like the last episode. I don't know. I probably said it this episode, but I love practical effects. I feel like they should have made a new puppet that could animate better, that could better convey these things, you know, because the old puppet was literally just a hand in the puppet.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, even back then, that wasn't that that wasn't even that advanced, because like if you watch movies like The Dark Crystal or The Labyrinth, and you see what puppetry can do when, you know, applied a lot of effort and time into it, and they absolutely had the money to put into it, they could have made like an incredible puppetry thing, because it just didn't match up.
Yeah, it's cool they try to give a shout out to what it was, but like they could have made it fit a little bit.
I appreciate the effort, but the execution was not that well. And then just talking more about scenes that I didn't like, I enjoyed the idea of going to like a high roller casino in this space universe.
Yeah,
I like the thought. I like this like heist type scenario, but everything in there looks too familiar. Like it looked like just a legit, like this just looks like Ocean's 11. Like there's only a little bit of space flare in it, and like this just looks like Ocean 11. And like this is supposed to be like a far off universe, you know, galaxy long time ago, far away, you know. And then like why does it look like I'm gonna see freaking George Clooney and him and the whole crew in here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't like it.
I didn't like that whole part.
Conceptually, it sounded cool, but then when they got there, I was like, oh, I don't. This feels weird. It feels like I'm not watching Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
And then we talked about this like off camera, I think, or off audio, but like I wanted the pod racers to be there and not the horse things.
That would have been okay.
That would have been okay. That would have been a cool nod, honestly. I can kind of understand why they didn't, because then that whole exit scene wouldn't have been able to happen. But I feel like they could have made it work in some fashion. And then the fight scene. That made me upset, because I liked, and we said this on the last episode, I liked the choreography in the prequels. They added a lot. They weren't all perfect. There were some weird janky bits to them, but like overall they were pretty good. They raised the bar for what the lightsaber fight scenes could be. And then this one I don't know what the hell they did, because that was like the fight scene, and like there were, if you don't pay attention, like if you're just glancing at it, like if like somebody else is watching this movie and you're in the room, and like, oh cool, lightsaber fight's happening, but if you're just sat down and watched this movie, like if I was in theaters, I definitely would have seen it because it's a bigger screen. So many of the actors are just not doing anything in between like slashes, and this is like a thing that happens in like old like karate movies and stuff. It's like when somebody's fighting multiple people, they'll be like slashing and chopping and punching like one person, and the person in the background's just like ducking and weaving, not really doing anything. He's like, yeah, I'm active, I'm here.
Yeah.
Don't look at me too hard because you'll see that I'm not actually doing anything, And then that's what I saw, and I'm like, they can't, like they didn't. Like, there's no way they did in this big budget movie. There's no way this choreography looks like this.
The fight scene, yeah. And then there's even a part, because like when I went before, when Josh told me we were doing this, I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube about it, and I found this video, and I already didn't like the fight scene.
Yeah.
And he pointed out something huge to me, and it just made me so mad. As soon as the fight starts, if you look at Rey and she's fighting. And I don't know how they could have fixed this. She missed the cue where she was supposed to block, and the guy comes in, like spinning the thing, and he could have slashed down and killed her.
I saw that,
and he didn't do it. He stopped and moonwalked out of there.
I saw that,
and they didn't fix it. And it's even on cue that they said, "Oh yeah, she missed her cue," so the guy fixed it. Why not say cut? And redo it.
I don't know.
An easy turn left,
and it looked so bad.
Oh my god, it made me so pissed.
I was really.
I didn't see it in theaters, so I've seen it in that.
And see that's one of the things where I said where even if the director said like, oh well, I think some people will hate it and some people will like it, and like that's my intention. I'm like, but there's some objectively bad things in here.
Yeah.
And for you to say something like that, like gaslight people who have actual criticisms, And I'm not saying this. I'll give this movie like a solid C, like a 70, And I'm like, it's worth watching at least once, If you're a hardcore fan, you're probably not gonna like it. But if you're like, oh hey, I've seen a Star Wars, I'll go see the I'll go see the new Star Wars, And then like you'll probably like it. Like if you only know a little bit, like you'll probably enjoy it. Because it is very easy to follow like what's happening in front of you, but the overall plot is kind of bad. The one shot I did like, and I don't know what they were implying. Actually, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but at the very very end with the little boys, and I don't know if they're speaking some alien language and they're talking about what just happened, but with a little Luke action figure.
That was alien?
One of them was an alien. I thought.
Swear he was talking English.
No, that he says Luke Skywalker Jedi Master in English, but everything else he says like wachaka waka laka whatever the fuck alien language they speak in Star Wars, right? And then the big gross alien dude comes in and he's like, what are you guys doing? And then they run out. The little boy that goes out, the little white boy, when he goes to grab the broom, because he's going after a sweep. I guess he's like a little worker boy, maybe even a little slave boy. He's that's just a thing that happens all the time. The broom comes to him.
Yeah.
And like I saw that and I thought they were gonna like focus on it more, but they didn't. So I watched that scene like 3 or 4 times to make sure I wasn't like overthinking it. But like he does make it come to him. And then he's sweeping or whatever, and he sees like a spaceship going to light speed or whatever, and he's wearing like a Rebel like Alliance ring or something. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, that's supposed to be his own little Star Wars thing, Ryan. What's his name? The director?
Rian Johnson?
Yeah, he's doing his own. He's getting his own set away.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah. The Snoke or the trilogy that he was supposed to be doing has been canceled. Yeah. But I mean, the ring Rose gave him.
Yeah,
Rose gave him the ring back when they were on Canto Bight. It was basically so the kids would help them and trust them.
Okay. I think I missed that, but I just thought it was interesting that he force drive that thing. I thought I don't know what that was implying. I
like that. I actually thought it was cool.
I don't know. I don't like. Yeah, I did legitimately like that. I like because it was a little foreshadowing.
Because I mean,
it wasn't too
the
focused.
Force is out there. It's not just limited to those who can use the light side and the dark side. Little kids, who are slaves to these big awful people can use the Force. You don't have to be a Jedi or a Sith.
I thought that was neat. And then just to further go into like the directors and stuff. J.J. Abrams said when he made Episode 7 that he made it kind of open because he knew that they were going to get a different director for each episode. He's like, I wanted it easy for somebody to come in, make their own story. I did tell a little of what I wanted. It was enough. It was enough of past stuff, and there was enough of new stuff where I felt it felt fresh, and all this other stuff. And he's like, I made it open enough so where somebody could come in and then tell their own little story, their own little chapter to this story, and then nothing I would have done it would have gotten away. But then seeing this one, and this director didn't have the same like outlook. It didn't feel like it because it felt like he set everything that's about to happen. He set everything in stone. Like there's almost nowhere to go now. He killed Snoke, who I thought was supposed to be the big bad, and it wasn't in like a climactic way. It was just like, no, he's just dead now. It led into the big fight scene, but it wasn't that dramatic, you know. And I still didn't feel like it was in character for anybody there except for maybe Rey. That happened.
And then when they killed him, the part like it's like you seen him use the lightsaber, right? Mm-hmm. And Rey's seen it, and then he goes, "Oh, you don't think I see him grab it? He's about to kill the person who stands in his way. He's about to kill you." And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, he's gonna kill Snoke." Like it wasn't surprise. They tried to do it. I mean,
and like I said, like it didn't further anything. Like if anything, it just further convoluted the plot. Like if you think like if Snoke's dead, like what's the point of anything anymore? Like what is their goal now?
Yeah, even the guy asked when Kylo Ren said, he was like, "What is our supreme?
What are we gonna do now?" He's like, "I just want to kill Luke," and I'm like, "You're not gonna keep a bunch of troops rallied behind you because you want to kill one person, maybe two."
Well, no, because he had no idea where Luke was.
Yeah,
he would have eventually gone off to try and find Luke and kill him, but his intention was to destroy the Resistance, to destroy the Rebel Alliance, to break the back of those who were rebelling against his new empire. Essentially, what Kylo Ren was supposed to be is what Vader could never be. You know, Vader was never able to until Luke came along and essentially brought him back to the light side. He was never able to overcome the influence of Sidious. There were other times that he did, you know, that we're told he tried to kill him, but Sidious always had the upper hand. So Vader was never able to do what Kylo was able to do. Kylo was able to get the upper hand on Snoke. Oh, Jesus. But here's a theory that I have, and this is the one that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so back when, after episode 7, we were, you and I, we were talking about, you know, what the future held for the franchise. Obviously, this is before we started the show. But I had mentioned what I thought Snoke was. And I think I even re-mentioned this after his death in episode 8. And I believe that who we saw as the hologram in episode 7 and who we saw sitting on the throne in episode 8, I don't think that's the true Snoke.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it was probably the essence of a far stronger dark side user. And I don't know, have you ever seen the show Supernatural?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember a few seasons ago when they first introduced the Lucifer character?
I think so, yeah.
And he took on his initial vessel, but because it wasn't his true vessel, his power overwhelmed the body and it started to destroy the body. I think that's what was happening here. I believe that's why Snoke looked the way he did, because he was simply a vessel for whatever this dark entity was. Now, a lot of people, and
I think something that's interesting. I know some of this stuff isn't canon anymore, but I know there's some stuff from like Knights of the Old Republic and other other old stuff. Is that there were like Sith characters who were super deformed because they were harnessing the Force in like such ways that physically destroyed them. And so there was one who was like who his bones was broken, his skin was tattered, like he looked bruised and burnt. And like he looked like he was literally falling apart, and the only thing that was holding him together was the Force. Like he was using the Force to hold his dead body together and keep his like life alive into it. So I know like that's some of the stuff that the Force can do. And then just like I have no problem with your theory, but like especially after seeing what happened in Episode 8, the thing that Luke did with his like little Force projection or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't like that was a cool scene like when I first watched it, but then I thought back, I'm like, I don't like the implications of this because it does exactly what I said I had a problem with writing. It's like what you think is happening is not happening, and I do not like that kind of thing. Like when they do it in such a way that like you can find out at the very end that like it was all a projection. You know, like
But there were hints during that entire scene.
Yeah,
as
like
to what it was.
I know that's not my issue. My problems is with the implications of what can happen in the future. You know, is that like at some point there like something big is going to happen. It's going to change our perception of what we're looking at, what we're watching, and then it's like, oh, it was just a projection, so it doesn't really matter. I do not like that stuff at all. I do not like it was just a dream. I don't like it was just a fantasy. Like,
but here's the thing. So far, we've only seen 2 people able to do similar things.
Yeah, well, it went from 0 to 2, and then so it's just only going to further increase. The more people do it,
but maybe
more,
not. Maybe not. It may be one of those techniques that either you have to be like super powerful and super trained to use. Mm-hmm. Because look what happened to Luke when he did it.
Yeah. And
as far as we know, that's the first time he ever did it. And he may have gotten the idea from what was happening between Rey and Kylo. Mm-hmm. And because he did it, for probably, like I said, his very first time, and he extended himself so far from where he was, he used so much power. That's why he, essentially died and became one with the Force. I don't think they really consider it death. Yeah. But I want to give a shout out to one of my favorite channels on YouTube, and that's Star Wars Theory. I love what he does. I love his theories. I love the way he explains things. And he had a theory way back when I want to say when Episode 7 was still first coming out, that Palpatine is Snoke.
Yeah. And I've heard that theory a lot too.
I'm thinking
nobody knew who Snoke was,
and I'm thinking now because of what we've got in the Episode 9 trailer. If you remember, at the very end, we get that recognizable cackle laughter of Palpatine, and so now I'm thinking that it was my theory mixed with Star Wars theory that it was essentially when Vader picked up Palpatine and threw him down the shaft. It destroyed his body, and you see this like energy, dark energy, come up the shaft. Yeah. And I think that's essentially what was left of Palpatine. And it's for the last 35, 36 years, has been looking for, something to inhabit. And it found the body of, whoever Snoke used to be. And, he simply took on the identity of Snoke in order to keep the Republic from finding out who he really was and hunting him down while he could regain power. You said, just a second. You said you read a lot of the books, right?
I wouldn't say a lot. I read a few select
Okay,
books.
Well, one of the key things that happened several times in the books were clones of Palpatine.
Yeah, those happens in some of the games too.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe now, because we're hearing the laughter of Palpatine, that maybe he either designed some kind of mechanical body or he cloned a body that he could actually inhabit without destroying, because it's essentially his body.
See, my problem with that is that I still think that they should try and focus on something new. Like, I didn't have a problem with Snoke. Like even if he was just a new character, and well, you don't know who he is, you don't know where he came from. There's been 30 years since the last movie and this movie or whatever. I'm like, that's fine. Eventually I'll figure out who he is, what his goals are, actually, and then what actually motivates this man. And then we never get to. And then now it's supposed to be another hinting and implying that it's actually Palpatine who's the real master, and I'm he's. But I think he's already had 6 movies.
I think there's already key pieces of evidence in Episode 8.
Yeah, that's not my problem. It's a valid theory. It could be happening. I'm just saying it shouldn't be. That shouldn't be.
It should be something new.
We should be dealing with something else. Anything. It could be. I thought a good conclusion for this. Even if it wasn't the Skyforce, just the end of the Skywalker saga. I thought a good conclusion would be. Coming into contact with a physical manifestation of the Force, that they did in the TV show, in the animated show, and finding out its true nature, because we're all trying to grasp at what the hell is it supposed to mean, what are we supposed to be doing? Jedi, Luke is I don't know what it means to be a Jedi anymore. There's only a few Sith, and Kylo's trying to learn what am I supposed to be doing? What is the meaning of all this? And I thought it would have been cool if it came to a head as when you finally meet the Force, and then you kind of understand its values, its like its motivations, like what is it actually doing? You know what I mean? Like it would take away some of the mysticism, I think, but like if you approach it correctly, I feel like there would be a way to where that's what sets forth a new age, is like like a second coming, pretty much. Like if Jesus comes back, that's like a second coming of Jesus, and we start a new age after that. Like, and that's because that's where we are. This is like a religious, mystical based thing, and this is where everything focuses on. Even though it's like all a power struggle of such, and then when people are trying to like, oh, well, there's the Empire and the Resistance and the New Order and all this other stuff, but it still somehow focuses on these Force users. And that's where it is, and this lineage of the chosen one, and I feel like if something like that happens, that's where we'll get our natural conclusion, and then finish off that theme of letting the old die and being reborn. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like that's where these themes should go. Like, I know there's a lot of evidence for what things that could happen, and that's fine. If you think that, if you see a lot of strings tying together and leading to that things, I'm just saying, from a creative standpoint, they shouldn't. Like, we should leave old things in the past, especially Palpatine, especially if he hasn't been in these past two movies. We should not bring him back for this third one. Like, I don't.
I mean, if the theory turns out to be true, technically he will have been in the last two.
Yeah, technically. Because I even felt a little weird for me when Luke showed up and he had actually had a role. I felt like he should have been in more of 7. Not that 7 needed it, but like I feel like going from no Luke to all Luke was a little bit of a jump, and then I felt like, and like I said, I feel like Leia should have been let die, like in like a cool way, I feel like there could be a cool death scene. Because like I know they say they filmed a lot of the stuff for this new movie already when she died, and I'm like, but did you get everything needed? Like, or how are we gonna chop this stuff together? Like, what if it doesn't come out right? And then like we can see for a fact that they shouldn't have put her in this movie. That they should have like just reshot and redone the story around her not being there. Like she could have been in a little bit, like some little parts. I'm sure she gives some really cool speech or something, and they left that in, but then have her not be there for the rest of it, Like I feel like
maybe she has died in between movies, and what we see is like an echo or a vision to Rey to reassure her in her time of need.
Mm-hmm. I mean that'd be okay. I think. I just feel like we should be focusing on the new stuff, because that's just where all the themes are pointing, and that's kind of what fans have been saying. That we want this newer stuff. Like it's time we're done with everything we've already seen. Let's bring in newer things, But I mean that might just me. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know if you were going to mention this, but one of the biggest controversies that we probably should discuss real quick.
I'm not even going to say what I didn't like about the movie.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Let's go. All right, so this is mostly what Manuel said. Like, the fighting scene was a big scene for me. Because, like you said, like I said, in the first part, episode 1, 2, and 3, their fighting scene was better choreographed, and mostly what we see from Rey and of Kylo is a bunch of just swinging madly. Okay, well, sorry, I have to rebut that. Like, I get it. She missed a few cues. There were a couple of things that cinematically were wrong. But with the whole, just being upset that they were swinging lightsabers, is Kylo, raw anger. He's not thinking. He's not trying to be finesse. I've
heard that argument made before,
and with Rey, even though it may not be coming from anger, she has no formal Jedi training.
Yeah, I know.
She doesn't have the whole Jedi arts and stances.
She does have some form of martial training. She has her staff.
But you essentially see the exact same thing that she's doing in the fight, minus her missed cues.
Yeah.
is the same thing she does on the planet when she's learning from Luke, when she's training against the Rock. She does the exact same thing. There is no change.
Yeah, and that's still an issue. Like, I feel like, because in the animated series, you remember how Ahsoka used to hold her lightsaber backwards?
Yeah.
Because she didn't have formal training. That's just how she had
No,
learned.
she did have training. That is a form of lightsaber stance.
Yeah, but it's not like the proper one. And so, like, when she...
It's one of the more advanced ones.
And then when she gets back into it, like, she starts holding it like Anakin does it. And I feel like it would have done a better service if Rey tried to swing her lightsaber like she uses her staff.
Yeah.
And that would show that she's inexperienced with a lightsaber, but experienced with a...
You can't sit there and swing a lightsaber the same way you do a staff because there's not as much there.
Yeah,
you grip a staff differently than grip a handle for a lightsaber.
There's still ways you can show that her movements is how she's used to. Like she could hold it like this, like she would hold a staff. Like she's still holding one side of the blade.
When you usually hold a staff to fight, you hold it
and
here.
there'd be more. Not always. Yeah,
most people don't hold it here like this.
There are multiple ways to hold a staff, especially when you're fighting multiple people. So there are plenty of ways that they could have showed that she was misusing her lightsaber because she has no lightsaber training. But she does have martial training, like with a weapon, with a stick. You know,
she has her own self-training that she's probably taught herself.
Yeah, exactly. And so they could have showed her that, you know, it would have been a different style of lightsaber fighting than we're used to seeing. You know, and it would have looked a little bit clumsy. It would have looked a little weird, but it would have looked intentional. And then with Kylo also, I feel like they could have better choreographed it to show that he's an angry, you know, rage-filled person. Like they do kind of show it. Like he has big long swings, but they need to like focus more that these are aggravated, like overpowered swings. Like when he swings, also, he's overcharged.
Here's the thing too. You know, some people, I know that the argument's been made, oh, well, Kylo has Jedi training. He has the formal training. But Luke was on Dagobah for months, and as far as we know, Yoda did know lightsaber technique training. We never see that. Now, it's not to say it didn't absolutely happen, you know, and you only get a little bit of what Obi-Wan Kenobi taught Luke on the Falcon, you know, and there was a little bit of, you know, blocking here. It was more of a defensive stance, but you don't see even when he fights Vader both times.
Yeah, but we've already been over that the original series that they didn't have that great of choreography,
right?
And that's fine.
They didn't. So I mean, but here's the thing. So not just the choreography, but you can explain it as he never had that formal kind of dueling training that other Jedi in the past have had.
Yeah.
So he didn't have that to pass on. It was just whatever he had learned, similar to what you see him use in both 5 and 6.
Yeah, but what we're saying is the choreography for the fight is already so sloppy, but it's not sloppy in a way that has meaning to it, but they could have added meaning to it, and I'm just giving ways that they could have done it.
And then in special features and on trailers for like when the movie came out, when they boast about like, oh, we brought this guy in. I forgot his name. It's an actual trailer. You can look it up on YouTube or in the special features. I don't know which one I've seen it on. But they're like, oh, we brought this guy in. He's a perfect person. We did this. He's the best person for the Star Wars choreography. And you see him doing it and showing them.
Yeah.
And he's doing it just like, you know, like a regular, like everyone else. And he's showing He's showing the actors that. And then they show it, and it's nothing like that. So I was like, how are you going to boast and say this is the best choreographer we have, and it's all sloppy.
Because he's been doing it for years while they've been doing it for maybe 6 months at the most.
So as a director, would you let that go knowing that he's doing it for years?
So
what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Delay the movie for 15 years so they can have the same kind of master?
There's a trick for this. And they've been doing it for years. It's called stunt doubles.
Yeah,
you get people who actually can do this.
Exactly.
And you get them in the motion of the scenes. And then, especially with these new technical effects, they just superimpose their face later. Because they've been doing that on every.
I mean, look, we're getting a Leia from deleted scenes in the next movie. They can do it. There's ways. There's a lot of ways. It's just that he just, I don't know what the dude was thinking. So it's just like, and then there's the fight scene between Kylo and Rey in episode 7 was way better than anything in 8 for me.
But it was still rough and raw. There was no formality.
It was better. It was
it wasn't as wild because it was just the two of them, and they were slowly changing hits. And you could tell,
because and also you remember it was a 1-on-1 duel.
Exactly.
It wasn't a 2-on-10
exactly.
fight.
If they couldn't choreograph a 2v10 fight, then they shouldn't have made it in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that simple. Like if they couldn't do it, they shouldn't have tried to do it. If they saw that they couldn't do it and they got all this footage, because I'm going to tell you, there has to be 30 plus takes of them trying to do this stuff, and this is the one we got. I can only imagine how bad the other ones look.
Yeah,
and they should have realized at some point they're like, we need to do this differently, or we need to just not do it at all.
Yeah, and then letting that scene where that guy could easily just hit Ray, and then him just moonwalking back out of there. Like, why would you let that in? That's just another thing I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, and I admitted to the cinematography faux pas, the screw ups, big time. There are a couple of those. Mm-hmm. There's even a couple of editing flaws where I think one or more of the weapons disappears for like half a scene, or a couple seconds here and there.
But those aren't the key scenes.
I mean, those weren't glaring. Obviously,
this is what was in the trailers. This was like the scene that everybody had come to see because they had like Rey and Kylo fighting, and they're like, oh, this is the big climactic part of this movie. And then it wasn't even that, really. Like as soon as that was over, we still had a whole other bunch of crap to deal with, and it felt like, and the biggest thing to me by the end of this movie, it felt like nothing actually happened. It felt like
nothing. Like it's just like the same shit started and the same shit ended. It's like there was no.
It felt like just a bunch of people died on both sides.
Yeah, and
then here we are back again in the middle.
Back at the same point.
Luke died, and then Snoke died, and then a bunch of rebels died. The whole fleet of
Poe got all the other people killed.
New Order died, and like I feel like all we really have is just the character development, and Kylo has absolutely none. Kylo didn't really like grow as a character. Poe kind of did, and Poe kind of saves it because his character growth in here is better because he sees that he can't be headstrong. He can't always rush in and try and finish everything off. He sees that not everybody is as they seem, especially in your leadership roles, because he finds out that the one girl was actually going to sacrifice herself to draw off the fire, and then and then Leia tells him, he's like, yeah, well, she would rather be seen as a traitor than like have everybody do whatever the hell. I forget exactly what she said. And then he just grows and he's learning, because he's about to take that torch from her as this military leader. And then Rey doesn't really learn anything either. Really, like Luke doesn't get to actually teach her anything, and then now he's kind of gone. I guess he's going to come back as a ghost, and that's how they're going to resolve that and like actually teach her stuff. Like we see that she actually uses the Force to lift all those rocks and stuff, but like personality, character-wise, it didn't seem like she actually learned anything.
Yeah, and then so that whole part is something I didn't like, and then another thing I didn't like was probably like the whole Snoke thing. Like I'm not gonna go into it that much. I don't think we should. But the whole Snoke thing, what you said, if Palpatine is gonna be the evil one in your theories, it's just like. But
what comes out of that?
Yeah,
like of course there's going to be a bunch of people who are like, I called it. Oh my god, yes. But then what does that offer to the story?
Yeah, nothing.
Because then it's like, oh well, episode 6 didn't really matter.
And then, so what are we going to get? And then what is this after this? And we're going to get a spin off of Palpatine, what he's been doing this whole time.
Yeah,
and then that's going to be bad. I don't care. I don't.
I don't want that.
That's a Han Solo. I don't care what happened. I don't. And
especially if it's a villain, dude. I don't really want to see what he's been.
Yeah, we're gonna feel bad for him, and then we're gonna see what he went through. All boo-hoo.
Like, oh, my master was evil.
So yeah. So there's that. And then one thing I really didn't like, the whole casino scene, like you said, I don't know what else could have been there. That I don't like it at all.
I feel like if they were going to a high roller casino, we could have seen more of the huts.
Yeah, the huts, or
especially just like even if it wasn't the pod racing, like that's the seedy underworld we know is like Jabba the Hutt, and all those kind of clubs like that. Like, but we're taken to like this high roller casino, and it's all people dressed up and
because they're arms dealers. Yeah, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go to the same place that the Hutts do. Yeah, the Hutts have money, sure, but they're known for being.
We don't necessarily need to go to where the arms dealers are, because what we needed a code breaker, and this code breaker isn't actually rich. He isn't actually.
But he's
like,
not the intended codebreaker they were looking for in the first place.
And-
It's the guy that's at the craps table or whatever you want to call it
and
that they were supposed to make contact with.
I feel like that whole scene just could have went differently.
Yeah, the whole part, like, I don't know. I'm not even gonna touch
Because
on
then,
that, 'cause I
the
don't even think
stakes the stakes are kind of lowered too for this whole scene, so it doesn't feel as heavy. They're like, oh, there's cops. I'm like, who the fuck gives a shit about cops?
yeah, dude,
and security.
What the fuck is out there? We're about to business.
like, just fucking pop them. I don't care.
Yeah.
They're serving a bunch of freaking war criminals right now. I don't give a shit about the authority.
So that whole scene, I don't know what could have happened. I'm not even gonna touch into it. I didn't like that whole part.
It's like if Paul Blart suddenly showed up in this movie and he's chasing out heroes now, and I'm like, why is this compelling? This isn't compelling at all. There's no danger here really.
Another part I didn't like, and I guess it's just for me, because when you first meet Poe, yeah, he's headstrong. You know, he's a warbird. He's a war fighter. You know, he's a pilot, and everything. But then when you start the movie, and he's like, "Oh, let's do this right now." A lot of people could be hurt. Like, "Oh, who cares?" And then all these people die, and he comes back in. He's like, "We got it." And Leia's like, a lot of people sacrificed their lives. And a lot of dead people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, a lot of dead people. I don't know why he did that.
I did like that. This is helping him grow as a character.
Yeah.
It did feel a little. It betrayed the charm that they gave him in the first movie.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
did.
made me like him. And then he's still acting like that. I mean, I guess it's a little in character for him to be like that, because that's. I mean, it doesn't necessarily contradict anything we know already. But it's like, oh, he's kind of a dick. You know,
Yeah.
like he's not entirely lovable.
Well,
And
because
I guess that's okay. You
Here's
know
the
what I mean?
thing, he's seeing it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
Leia, Holdo, and the Admiralty and the generals, they're seeing it from a bigger picture.
Yeah.
He's seeing it as a fighter jock just trying to complete a mission.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's how he sees it. And over the course of the movie, he comes to see it the way everybody else does. So there is that character growth for him.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not
But
good.
that's not necessarily out of his character from the first one, because he pushes his pilots to sit there and try to make a run on Starkiller Base when he knows the odds are outnumbered.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, yes, Leia approved that mission, but that was because they had no choice. They had to take out Starkiller Base, or they were going to die anyways.
Yeah.
And then furthermore on this scene, it's not about him anymore. It's like the whole scene where after Leia, like, you know, does a little force jump to the space.
That was actually probably the one scene I didn't care for.
I didn't like
Which
it.
one?
The one where she got blasted into space and then
She saves
Oh,
herself.
She came back.
Yeah.
I thought she was just gonna fucking die there. So I was like, that whole thing, because I saw somebody like post that scene like before I watched the movie. Like they posted that scene, and I thought it was just a joke. Like I thought they rewound the footage of her getting shot into space, and they're like, yeah, this is what really happened. And I'm like, oh, okay, so she's gonna die, got it. And then she didn't, and I was like, that just took me out of it. Like I didn't know what to fucking think about that.
So after that part is when what's her name, Holdo?
Hold
Yeah.
on.
She
The
gets in
pink
charge.
hair?
Yeah, and then Poe's like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." You know? And then so you have this whole conflict where Finn and Rose go off to go find this co-breaker because they know how to stop him because they're being tracked by jumping through
light speed, which
And
I don't really understand.
I don't understand either.
It's a new technology. That's why
Awesome.
I mean basically the whole thing is
We're gonna spin
the
off
first
of that.
order. The first order now has the technology to track ships through light speed. Depending on, I think it's ones that emit bigger light speed signatures. So they're able to track them no matter where they jump.
Yeah,
and the whole thing
that-
is they're running out of fuel. If they make another jump in light speed, then they're out of fuel, and all of a sudden, here's the first order fleet right on top of them.
No, I'm not questioning that part. I know they're running out of fuel. But my thing is that so she's not telling Poe what the plan was, and I guess the plan was that
they were going to go in the little ships, and she was going to stay behind.
But so
Well,
why?
actually, she was never meant to stay behind to
So
begin with.
why hide that?
yeah,
Why hide that? Why? I don't get it.
Because
Especially-
this goes back to earlier in the movie when he only cared about the mission.
I know, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about Ponoma. Why
This
did
is-
she have
the-
to hide it?
She's not hiding it. She's teaching him a lesson. She's showing him that by him acting like he's so single-minded on just one objective, that he doesn't get the privilege of knowing the entire plan. If he wants to act like a soldier, then he can be treated like a soldier. Whereas Leia is trying to groom him to a leader. She wants him to act like a leader, and he's not doing that.
It's just like it was.
So if he wants, it's basically her mentality is, if he wants to act like a soldier, I'll treat him like a soldier. I'll tell him what he needs to know when he needs to know it.
And then why can't she just go about telling that? Because he obviously didn't get it. Obviously, until,
Because she's the admiral. She doesn't have to.
yeah, I know, but it was like so dragged on though. It was just like that was the whole conflict on that ship. And then you had Finn and them doing this whole little wacky thing in the casino, and then that was like in that scene, I already felt like it was the director's own little plug because he was going to make his own little spin-off, so they needed the little people there, the slaves, so he could show them, oh look, he has force powers at the end. And I already feel like that could have been taken out. And then it's just like, and then at the end, so the reveal's like, oh, we're gonna go the little
No,
ships.
I think the little kids with the force powers is important.
Yeah, but it is like,
It's not. We now know it's not going to go anywhere.
yeah, now it's not gonna go anywhere. I mean, they can do
We
anything
don't know
they
that.
want.
We don't know that.
just
We
said
don't
it
know
was
exactly.
canceled. That was the whole point. The whole point of that
No,
scene was him
his-
to plant seeds.
Ryan
for what
Johnson
he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Ryan Johnson was originally going to be doing a backstory on Snoke,
Oh god,
not
I,
on.
that's not even helping.
I don't. And see,
I
like
don't
this,
need a
this
backstory.
is this is
It
the
should have been told now.
So there's a mentality going into these movies now where it's definitely, these are all cash grabs, definitely, and like I understand that this is a business and we got to make business moves, but they are now putting story last and putting money first.
Yeah,
Because where I shouldn't, so this is a problem that a lot of people have with comic books already, is that I should be able to read a mainline series, like I should just be able to read like Spider-Man number this, and then like be able to read up all the Spider-Mans and know what's happening. I should have to read Spider-Man this, Spider-Man and friends, Spider-Man goes here, Spider-Man does this, and Spider-Man plus X-Men, Spider-Man versus X-Men. They're like, oh well, these are all side things that are happening. I should like it shouldn't be that way. And like I do enjoy comic books. I'm not gonna lie, but this is not how movies should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I shouldn't have to go into a movie and then you tell me like, well, first, hold on. Like it's different with sequels, but like, hold on. There's this over here, and then all this stuff behind you. And before you get any of that, there's other stuff here. I don't like that. Like I don't like having to split my time to get the whole story. And and they're leaving in these little drops and these little hints that there's more to it, and you're like, well, are you going to tell me? They're like, yeah, if you give me another $10 for another movie ticket. I'm like,
yeah,
no, I paid you for this movie, and you're putting some of this movie into another movie.
yeah.
Don't do that. Like it's different with cliffhangers that leading into a sequel. Like that's understandable, but like you shouldn't leave a cliffhanger going this way, a cliffhanger going that way, and then a cliffhanger going forward. And they're like, no, choose your path. I'm like, no.
Yeah, the whole casino scene could have just took it out. We could have got like a little bit of backstory on Snoke as it is, and then that probably would have just settled the whole Snoke thing there. It didn't even have to be full detail, just like where he came from, why is he doing it, why is he doing that.
And then that could have been some of what Kylo told Rey is like, oh, this is what I know of my master, and this and this and that.
Yeah,
And then you can look at Kylo's way of seeing things, and then also get background on Snoke and what the hell he's going to doing, and then Kylo's real feelings about Snoke, and that would make that whole scene where he actually kills Snoke a lot more like interesting.
yeah,
Especially like even if you see it coming from him, you're like, oh well, this is it. Is he going to do it? This is it. Oh shit, it happened, and then we get that. We need to get that completion. We get to see that come to fruition.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas this one, it's kind of out of nowhere. It doesn't really make sense. And then even after he dies, nothing really matters. Like nothing changes. Like the whole new First Order or whatever is still intact, and they're still following Kylo's orders for some reason. And
Yeah, out of fear, basically, because he's going back.
Yeah, and I think when they reveal that either Snoke's not actually dead or is Palpatine, there'll be a civil war.
I'd be less mad if Snoke survived
then Palpatine.
than Palpatine coming back.
Yeah,
And there's another competing theory, because in the trailer for Episode 9,
How many theories are there, dude?
There's a lot right now
There's a
because
lot.
there's not a lot to go on, really.
No, the problem is that there's too much to go on.
Yeah, there's too much.
things.
Yeah, there's too much things to go on for you guys
because we see wreckage of what looks to be a
The fucking
Death Star.
We don't even know if it's the first Death Star
or the second.
The second
or
Death
the-
Star.
A lot of people are like, oh, what's the second? Because Palpatine's there. I'm like, oh, wow.
But they're thinking that it's possibly like because they're gonna go through the wreckage of the Death Star, they might come across like an old recording of Palpatine, and that's what we're hearing.
Yeah, then that's okay. I think I don't know. That's some decent world building. But I mean, why
Like
the fuck
maybe-
why the fuck would there be
maybe-
a recording of it?
But maybe, well, here's the thing. Maybe
like Robot Chicken.
Ray-
This is Chance Palpatine.
no, maybe Ray comes across like an old holo recording of the
Yeah.
events that happened in the throne room in Episode 6, and she gets to see
Hold on,
the
let me-
real
let
Luke
me
Skywalker.
Let me finish what I don't like, and then we can go into the future.
Yeah, we need to.
Dude, I'm trying, but I keep
What-
getting
what-
interrupted. So after that part, the one thing the most thing I hate the most is that what I liked about the movie itself is that it actually went on with like I said, is that the Force. They made like a lot of stuff that showed like the Force is alive, right?
Yeah.
So when Luke said, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" and he kept asking, she was like, "Oh, they sent me." No, why are you here? And she finally said, "Something's inside of me, and I don't know why, and it's finally awake." And it showed, and there's a lot of stuff they say like that to show that the Force chose her, the Force chose the little boy, the Force chose Finn because the brainwashing went off when a lot of never seen that happen before. And he snapped out of it. The Force was with them, and then what I don't know what her name, the old lady they met on the planet where they found the lightsaber.
Maz Kanata.
Maz Kanata.
Maz Kanata.
She said, "Oh, the Force is like the Sith. You don't have to be the Sith to use the dark side of the Force. You don't have to be a Jedi to use the Force. So like anyone can use it." So when they said, my thing I told Josh a long time ago is that I feel like Rey was chosen by the Force, and her parents are nobody. They don't matter. And that was one thing I went into the movie and I was happy with, because they were like, she looked in the little whatever underneath the island that Luke was on, and she's like, "Show me what I want. Show me what I want." And it was just her. There was no one there.
Yeah.
And then later, Kylo's like, "Oh, you already know who they are. You know who they are. But you're hiding it. You're hiding it. They're nobody." And I was like, "Yes,"
because that fits the theme that I feel like they're trying to convey about leaving old stuff behind and because this is supposed to be the end of the Skywalker saga, and then nobody needs to be a Skywalker, but we already know somebody's going to be a Skywalker or some shit. I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yes.
Like I'm gonna say there's still a chance that this last movie could fix everything that I have a problem with, and it could give me a satisfying ending. I will say that I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I just from the direction so far that I've seen, it doesn't feel that way. I don't know. I might watch it in theaters. I don't know.
Well, J.J. Abrams is coming back to take the reins on this
because
one.
it has to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even then, I don't even.
Well,
think,
no,
I
it's
don't even know
basically-
if JJ could give me the ending I want, because
He missed the whole movie.
he doesn't do like the way he does movies and the way I've seen him do things. Like he can do like whole stories and everything, but I don't think he can give me the satisfying ending. Like he can give me an okay ending, but I don't think it's going to be the satisfying ending I want that ties all these themes and emotions together, where all the old has died and there's now a new thing coming, and there's and they leave it on this cliffhanger of like, well, what is next? And I'm like, well, we don't know. Like we just know that there's new people doing new things, and it could go anywhere from here. But all of the old problems are in the past now.
Yeah, and so my whole thing leading up to that is that I was happy that they said that they were nobody, and then so many people were mad that she wasn't a Skywalker.
They left it as like some kind of weird
like open, like
who is it?
yeah, and then
Who could it
so it got so much backlash that later after the movie, they said the directors were going back to change it because of how many people hated it.
They should have.
And I was just like, that is so dumb, because
you should
you
never
wrote the
do
story. You wrote the story. You guys got it approved. You filmed it for all these years, and you put it out just for some person to be mad about it. And then, we got to change it. We got to change it.
And then they're mad now, but we don't know the conclusion of where.
Yeah,
this is
we
going.
don't. We don't.
Like, it's just because her parents are nobody doesn't mean her saga has to end that way. It doesn't mean that there isn't meaning behind where she is and what she's doing.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't. It's just all this stuff. So with that, that's what I didn't like about it. That's what Manny didn't like about it. Josh loved it, I guess.
I like. There are some parts that I do like. Like I said, this is a solid C minus. You know, I don't think I'm ever gonna watch it again. But I'm okay with seeing it the first time. I'm sure some of the hardcore fans have a lot to take away from it. I'm sure some of the not so hardcore fans have something to take from it. But I think I just expect more from a Star Wars movie. I expect
a lot more.
Like a C is okay for any movie, you know, but a Star Wars movie should be above and beyond. A Star Wars movie should be at least an A minus. You know, like I'm okay with, like, if we're gonna talk about like rating movies, like Transformers movies, those are like a solid 60. You know, like they're not.
Yeah, we kind of know what to expect from a Transformers.
And I'm like, I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there for some fantastic story. I'm like, I want to see some robots and I want to see
explosions.
And I'm like, when they did Grimlock finally, I was like, I'm gonna watch that movie in theaters. I want to see Grimlock on a big screen. That's it. And that was the only reason I went there. It was a really shallow reason, and I was satisfied. You know, but Star Wars is supposed to have so much more. Like, it's supposed to have characters. It's supposed to have character development. It's supposed to have backstory. It's supposed to have this mysticism and world building to everything. You know, and this one just felt like all over the place. It felt like they didn't have a direction, and they tried to take it in too many directions. Maybe, like, it just felt real spread out as to what the fuck was supposed to be happening.
Well, and here's the thing. We've talked a little bit. I think we've talked a fair amount of what's coming in episode 9. I think we've covered everything that we really need to when it comes to that. Because I know we're getting a little short on time here.
Yeah.
But so real quick, go around the table. So we know this is the end of the Skywalker saga.
Supposedly.
I mean, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the movie is titled Rise of Skywalker, but it's supposed to be the end of the Skywalker saga.
If they do something like, so here's a prediction I'm gonna make, because this would actually be cool story wise. If in this new world with a new like Jedi Order type thing and everything, after everything's been resolved, if the word Skywalker becomes synonymous with the word Jedi instead of
I was gonna say that.
Some people stop calling him Jedi.
I was gonna say that.
He's a Skywalker.
Damn
he
it!
walks the sky. You know,
I wanted
that's
to
what they
say
do,
that.
and I'm like, that'd be fucking tight. I honestly love.
I was gonna say that the Rise of Skywalker. Everyone's like, oh, she's a Skywalker. Oh, Luke is coming back. Oh, this. What I feel like is gonna happen. That's what I felt. That's what everyone is saying. I read the comments.
Yeah, that's
what everyone is saying. What I feel was gonna happen is like what Manuel said. Rey is gonna come and show what she learned from Luke. From that little time being, what he was telling him, like, oh, the Jedi's minds were lost. You know, they weren't. That's not the way to think.
Yeah.
She read the text herself that she took from the fire. When Yoda said, the books in there, or whatever, I forgot the way he said it. The books that are in there are nothing that she doesn't have already.
Yeah.
It's because she had it already. And she read it, and then she made a decision for herself, and then she took what Luke thought and said and taught her with a short time. So she's gonna say, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be like, oh, the Jedi are back. He was like, no, we're not Jedi no more. We are Skywalker. I feel like they're gonna replace the Jedi with Skywalker.
That'd be tight.
It could be.
That's what I feel like.
I like that.
Because it's this perfect balance of new and old. You know?
Yeah.
You're paying homage to the old stuff, but you're still saying, like, this is a new way. This is a new deal. These are new people. This is a new story.
Okay, yeah. All right, so real quick, though. Even though this is supposed to be the end of the Skywalker saga, we know this is going to be the last movie with Mark Hamill. Obviously, it's going to be the last movie with Carrie Fisher.
I hope so.
Do you think the story of Rey, Finn, and Poe continue? Go ahead, real quick.
If they continue, shit. You know, probably. Just for money reasons, absolutely. There's probably going to be a next trilogy with them in it, or I know there's supposed to be a Poe Dameron show. I think,
God.
which is like whatever. I don't care, but we will definitely see more of them. You know, they are the new like triad of power. You know, they're the three mains here.
Okay, Ted, what about you?
No.
Do you think this is going to be it for them?
No,
They're not coming
die
back?
at the end of Skywalker.
They got
They're done. They're done.
Rey's dead.
So then I have one other question. If you think that they're not coming back for, say, another trilogy, if there is another trilogy made, which I'm sure is all going to depend on how well this movie does,
It's going to do well. There's no way it's not.
do you think there will be at least, their characters may not show their faces in the next trilogy, but do you think they'll still be, mentioned? Do you think they'll still be a part of the next trilogy?
Yeah, they'll be mentioned because from what the information I got is that after this movie, the whole the cinematic, not like spin-offs or anything else, it's going on hiatus for a long time, for a time period.
Because I think they're going to focus on the shows because that's going to be on the Disney Plus whatever shit, and that's going to be money directly into their pocket.
So they're taking
right
taking a hiatus. So hiatus, it could be a year. I don't think so. It could be 4 years. It could be 5. It could be 10. It could be another 10 years till we get another one. That's time. So if they pick up and I still see Rey the same way she was when I left her off, I'm gonna be pretty upset. So it's time to go forward with it. It's time to leave all the Skywalker saga stuff behind. Mm-hmm. I mean, if she does come back, I'm not going to hate it. I love her. I'm not going to hate it. Yeah. But it's time for the focus on something new completely. They can mention Luke. They can mention Rey. They can mention Poe, Finn. You can say, oh yeah, he went on to do this. She went on to do that. She made the Skywalker. She brought the Jedi back.
Because I mean, at these points in the story, they are the only Jedi and the only Sith. So of course they're going to be important figures in history. Yeah. Even if we go ahead like a century, like at some point you're like, oh, it's like the battle on this or whatever. Remember? Like everybody talks about it, like the battle on Hoth or whatever, and they're like, yeah, and like we know what they are, and but people are talking about it like it's something we learned in history class.
They will be mentioned. They will be mentioned, and they will have like some.
And then one last question, and this is obviously I'll have an answer too. I'm gonna go with Manuel first. Does Finn become a Jedi?
Does Finn become a Jedi? God, that'd be so fucking cool. I really would like to see him at least use the lightsaber more because that was tight. That was pretty tight.
Okay.
I hope so.
Finn become a Jedi.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with no because I feel like the way they planted it is that he will be force sensitive. Like
I think he already is.
Yeah,
I think he proved
that.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. He will be force sensitive.
I take it back.
He will be force sensitive in what he wants to do.
Yeah,
because he already tried the whole lightsaber Jedi thing in the 7th. It didn't go well. It's not because he didn't have training. Because I feel like
I think he had more training than what Rey did. At least when it comes to formal training.
Yeah, but he tried it, and it's not him. With the force sensitive, it's not being a Jedi. It's for him to do something else.
I feel like I really do hope in this last movie we actually explore those things, like what you can do with force sensitivity besides being a freaking Jedi.
Dude,
there's gotta be something.
If the force comes out like it did when it talked to Yoda when he went to that thing, that would be so cool as well.
Yeah, no.
To explain that we are alive, we are here. You can be whatever you want, because that's what at the end of the last one, when the little slave boy, anyone could be force sensitive. Anyone could use the force. A lot of people tied in with just Jedi and Sith. Like no.
And I'm gonna say here, I'm sorry, I really don't want to interrupt you. I know we could go on for like another hour talking about this, but like I said, it is getting late. We are running long. I have work in the morning because this isn't the only thing we do. But my opinion, real quick, I think he's going to. I don't think he's going to be a Jedi in this one, but I think he's going to at least be training under Rey.
That'd be interesting, I think.
So
because then it's just more spiritualism, like you've been saying. But yeah,
and it just deepens that connection between them. I don't think there's ever going to be like a full on relationship between Finn and Rey because I actually think there's something growing between him and Rose.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, okay, she's a little annoying, but I mean, she's bearable.
I liked her because she's.
I thought she was an okay character. I don't think she really did anything to further the storyline.
Yeah, she didn't do like a whole lot. But going into this movie, like all of our like I said, like I always say, we always have to have a character who's more grounded, that we can relate to. And she's kind of hasn't been doing this stuff before, like her sister was, and she's trying to live up to her sister.
Yeah.
Finn and Rey are more in the shits now, and they're kind of used to it. Poe was always in the shits, you know. So he's like hardened, but she's not, and this is all new to her, and so she's still very nervous.
And I think honestly, I think Disney's just they're gonna go the way of not giving Rey a love interest. She's gonna be,
Yeah, me too.
you know, the same thing they did with Frozen. I think they're gonna, you know, create that strong, independent woman character
because they
and keep
keep
her that way.
such a negative stigma on love and the Force that, you know, because what happened with Anakin, we haven't seen any.
Well, and that
like,
was,
anything
you know,
really.
you realize that was one of the biggest downfalls of the Jedi was the fact that they didn't allow their members to essentially love or become attached.
There was
to
one
another.
guy. There was one guy. His species was in danger of going extinct, and they said this one man can fuck. This one, just this one, to save a race, he can, and he must.
But yeah, no, I think Rey and Finn are just going to be really good friends. They're going to be really extremely close, you know. And like you said, Rey, Finn, and Poe, they're going to be that big three.
Mm-hmm.
The new triad of good, I guess. And then, like I said earlier, I think this is going to be the end of Kylo Ren. He will die by the end of the movie because he's a Skywalker. He has to end.
Yeah.
With the Skywalker saga ending, I know he's essentially abandoned the whole Ben Solo and has embraced the Kylo Ren, but I think he has to. He's part of the past. He has to die. He has to be killed. It's going to end. But with that, I think we're going to have to call it tonight.
Yeah, that's good.
Manuel, thank you very much for joining us on this very special guest.
Thank you for having me.
We cannot wait to have you back.
Yeah, comment, please like, subscribe. Comment.
Yeah, if you liked Manuel,
in the comments, all over the comments.
we want to hear how much you liked having him here. He had some really great ideas, really great opinions, really great stuff to say, and of course, always thank you, Ted, for being here with me.
I'll also say that if you guys talk about Transformers, Signs, X-Files, if you guys talk about any of those things and I'm not here, I'm not talking to any of you guys again.
Well, I don't think you have to worry about the Signs or the Transformers, but X-Files, I don't know if Ted has even seen any of the X-Files.
I will watch that.
But anyways, all right, thank you guys for joining us on this very special Star Wars episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can email us at nerdsmakesense@yahoo.com. And until the next one, the Force will be with you always.